Hello guys, I gave an interview in a company called NeoSoft and the location is Mumbai. Interview date is June 12, 2025 and that was the fourth round. So first part I have already shared. Now this is the second part of the interview. They asked me helpers versus library in coordinator. So helpers are the ready-made function to help you perform simple tasks quickly like creating links, forms or handling files. So how do you use a helper? Load a helper. Tell coordinator which helper you want to use. So this load helper URL. So loads the URL helper. Use helper function. After loading, just call the helper function. Example using base URL from the URL helper. Echo base URL about. So output is URL and slash about. Common helpers example URL helper helps create links and manage URLs. This load helper URL. Echo base URL home. Form helper helps make forms faster. So this load helper form, this form open user submit, echo form input username and echo form close. Text helper shorten long text. This load helpers text. So echo limiter. This is very long sentence 3. So the output will be this is a only it will show only the 3 words because we are using the 3 in the word limiter. So auto loading helpers to always load a helper automatically. Application config autoload.php and add the helper's name. So autoload helpers equal to URL and form. So helpers are just tools to make coding faster and easier. So how to load helpers? So load a single helper, use load helper in your controller or model. So this load helper URL. So now you can use the helper function like echo base URL about. So output http your website.com about. So load multiple helpers, this load helper URL and form. Auto load helpers if you want to helpers to always load automatically. So open application config autoload.php. Find this section autoload helper. Add your helper autoload helper URL and form. So this will load the helpers every time the application runs. So that's it. Helper make your task faster and easier. So how to declare helpers? So step to create and use a custom helper. Create a helper file, navigate to application helpers, create a new file, for example, myhelper.php. Ensure the file name ends with the helper.php. So write function in the helper. Inside myhelper.php, define your custom function. So if function doesn't exist, greet user, so function greet user $name. So return hello, you see first name. So load the helper in your controller or model. This load helper my, and now you can use the greet user function like this. So echo greet user John. So it will give the output of hello John. So autoload helper, that is optional. So it open the application config autoload.php and autoload helper, and inside equal to inside the argument you can write the my. So key point, always use if function doesn't exist to avoid the conflicts. So helper files should not contain classes. It only contains the functions. So now comes to the second point, libraries. So libraries are object-oriented classes that offer more advanced functionality like the session, email, form validation, etc. So the nature of the libraries are the object-oriented, that is the classes. So how to load library? This load library session. So load session library. Uses this session, set user data name John. So echo this session user data name. Example libraries in CI, session, email, pagination and form validation. So use when you need structured, reusable and stateful component with the method and the properties. So quick comparison table. So differences or the similarities between the helpers and libraries. So helpers are the procedural, that is the functions. Library object oriented, that is the classes. Helpers functions only, libraries classes with the method. Helpers, this load helper, so you can load it. In the library, this load library. Helpers base URL, this is the example, and in the case of the library, this session user data. So helpers simple task, and for in the case of the libraries complex, reusable and functionality. They asked me the difference between the authentication versus authorization. So authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a user. It checks who the user is. The steps of the authentication. First is the login. A user provides their credentials like the username and password. Verification. The system checks if the provided credential match stored credentials in a database or the third party authentication service. So token generation, that is optional. Upon successful login, a system may generate a token, example JWT, to maintain the session or facilitate API access. For example, a user logs in using their username and password. The system verifies the credentials and grants access if the information is correct. Example in Laravel, auth :attempt email request email password request password. Authorization. Authorization is the process of determining what the user can do after they are authenticated. It controls the permission and the access levels assigned to the user. So step for the authorization: permission check. After authentication, the system checks if the authenticated user has permission to perform a specific action. For example, view a page, modify a resource, etc. So roles and the permission. In many systems, roles, that is the admin, editor or user, defines which action are allowed. Permission specify the specific actions. For example, create, delete or edit that a user can perform. Example, a user may be authenticated, but they might only be authorized to view their own profile, not other users' profile. So a manager role may allow the editing posts, while a guest role may only allow viewing. So example in Laravel, auth :user can edit post, that is $post. So what is the summary for authentication and authorization? So authentication verify who the user is. Authorization determines what the user can do. Authentication identify login credentials. Authorization permissions, roles and abilities. Authentication ensure the user is who they claim to be. Authorization ensures the user has the right to access resources or perform actions. Authentication, user logging it with the username, password. Authorization, user being assigned roles like admin, editor, etc. So practical use. In a practical web app, authentication would occur first, that is login in, and authorization would follow to ensure that the authenticated user has the correct permission to access specific resources. So another question he asked me, how do you delete a column? So alter table, table name, drop column, column name. For example, you have a table called employees and you have one column, there is a age. So how do you delete a column? So alter table employees, drop column age. Another question he asked me, you have a table, some are male and some are female in that table. So reverse it. So let us suppose I have a table called people and we have a column called the gender, and there are some 5 records in that table. Some are male and some are female. Now we have to interchange male to female. Okay, so the update query for that is update people, set gender. Okay, update, then column name, then set gender, update people, set gender equal to. Now we have to use the case when gender equal to male, then female. When gender equal to female, then man. Else gender, and then you have to end it. So it will interchange the gender of the following people. Another question he asked me, how do you prevent your website? So for the developer point of view, we have to use the input and output protection like the SQL injection. We have to use filterware or HTML special characters or escape withdraws. Then authentication and session, hash password. For that we have to use the password underscore hash function with the bcrypt or argon2. Verify with the password verify. Use session regenerate IDs or set secure session cookies. Okay, Also, we can use the CSRF protection, use CSRF token to all form submission, or we can enable the CSRF config slash security.php. Also, we can use the XSS protection, escape as output HTML special characters, use JSON encode for JSON APIs, and set content security policies, CSP. File upload security we can make, allow only the specific MIME types and extensions, rename files with UUIDs, store uploads outside the public folder, and validate file content, not just extension. Also, we can do the database security, use database user with the minimum privileges, so no drop, grant, etc. Escape like inputs properly. Use framework features, code igniter, use the XSS clean, enable CSRF protection. In Laravel, we can use $file name at the rate CSRF middleware. In the Node.js or Express, we can use the Helmet Express validation. So in the error handling, don't show raw error message to the user, raw message. Okay. So log error securely on the server side only. So security headers, add these to the .htaccess of server config, like the xframe option, deny, x content type option, no sniff, x accessor protection 1 mode block, strict transport security max age, include subdomains. From the testing perspective, testing and audits, use tools OWASP, JAP, Nikto, Bub Suits, run Composer audit or NPM audit to find the vulnerable dependencies. So DevOps and server tips, disable directory listing option indexes, don't commit .env to config files to the Git, set strong firewall rules, regularly rotate secret API keys and database passwords. Next question he asked me, how does Code Igniter handle security vulnerabilities like SQL injection and XSS attack? So Code Igniter provides built-in feature to handle common security vulnerability like the SQL injection and XSS. XSS is cross-site scripting. First, SQL injection prevention in Code Igniter. So use the query builder or active records automatically escape values. Okay. Second, XSS cross-site scripting protection. So use the XS_clean to filter inputs. Okay. So we can use additional security tools in Code Igniter like the CSRF protection. Enable in the app config filters.php automatically adds tokens to the form. Content security policy CSP manually configurable. So summary is vulnerability and the Code Igniter feature. SQL injection, query builder and bindings. We can use XSS clean, HTML_scap, ESC, CSRF built-in token validation. He asked me session in CI. So enable session in controller. So let us suppose you have one file in controller home.php. So there you can use the session $session equal to session and set session data. So session set, then username and logged in. So get session data, echo username, session get username, echo logged in, session get logged in. So now public function logout, session equal to session, $session equal to session, $session destroy clean session, echo session destroyed, user logged out. Step 2, configure section, that is optional. So check the app config app.php and here public $session driver, public $session cookies name, public $session expiration, that is 7200, that is 2 hours. So verify routes in the app config routes.php. Check your route file app config routes.php and make sure that the line is present. So route get home index and routes get home logout, home.logout. Step 3. Access the URL. So assuming your base URL is the localhost colon 8080. So visit localhost 8080/home, set the show session, and localhost colon 8080 home logout destroy session. So the output will like this. The username is Chandra and logged in is yes. He asked me another question, what is the $this in PHP? So in PHP, $this is a special variable used inside a class to refer the current object. So meaning of $this refers to the current instance of the class used to access properties and method of the same object. So PHP class person, public $name, public function set name $n. This name $n, this refer to the current object. So public function say hello, echo my name, this name. So now you have to create one object, $person equal to new person. So person set name Chandra. So $person say hello. So output will be the hello, my name is Chandra. So this was the fourth round of the interview, and this is the second part of this fourth round. So the company name was the NeoSoft and location is Mumbai. The interview date was the June 12, 2025, and this was the fourth round of the interview. So I will share more interview question. Till then, bye.